everyone. Hope everyone is having a good day. My day is going great. I think my cold is starting to wear off a bit. I'm feeling up for good chess. This morning I wanted to show you one of my personal favorite Magnus Carlsen games, played in Wijk aan Zee in 2004 against Sipke Ernst, which I am probably completely pronouncing horribly, but, you know, people who can pronounce that somewhat correctly, I congratulate you. Alright, so yeah, let's just jump right into it. Magnus Carlsen opening with E4. We have a Caro-Kann, main line, Bishop D3. This has all been played many times, all theory, and Bishop F4, which is a neat move. Quite often in the Caro-Kann, black likes to put his bishop to D6. Of course, this is not possible now because of the Bishop F4 move. Little nuances, but they're important. Black developed his knight. Also, slightly more popular is Queen A5 to check, but okay, I mean, knight Gf6 is perfectly fine. Castle queenside, Bishop E7, knight E4. Now, for people, well, like myself a long time ago, this kind of move is a bit tricky to explain. Let's consider all minor pieces, all queens, rooks, and the knight on G3 and this knight are the only pieces remaining. The positions such as this. Notice how this knight is having to watch this H-pawn. If this knight ever moves anywhere, this knight can take the H-pawn. Also notice that this knight is always attacking this pawn, forcing this knight to be passive, which I know is vice versa, but, gotta repeat it. And this knight cannot go to E4, because the knight is covering that as well. So this piece has a bit more freedom of which it can move. As long as this knight's here, this knight has to stay here protecting the pawn, unless of course the king managed to get up and protect it. This is surprisingly passive for white, and the Caro-Kann player is quite often aware of such endgames. So this is very tricky. You can play it out a little, mess with it. I've actually reached this position as white, quite similar to this. I think I had my pawns a bit more advanced on the queen side, and our kings were somewhere else, but quite similar. And let me tell you, it is very passive. Black can just leave this knight, and he can always move it at a given notice. So white is a bit passive. Black, it's not like white's lost here, but this is something white would like to avoid. Now noticed earlier with the knight E4 move, it aims to exchange this knight off for this knight to avoid possible endgames like this. These are nuances you have to keep in mind. So let's go back to the game. So as I said, white wants to exchange this knight off and avoid those kinds of endgames. So Queen A5 was played, King B1 protecting the pawn, castle, Magnus took, knight took back, and knight E5, which looks like your typical club player move, but it in fact has some, well, as we'll see, some points. Notice black structure here with slurring my words here, E6 of course, and the F7 pawn. So these pawns, as though they look, they are well supported, they are actually not, and we'll see what I mean in a sec. Okay, rook D8, Queen E2, And this sets a small trap, and yeah. Queen b6 is possibly the best move here. And I'll show why in a second, because if I show why this is better, it'll become a kind of a spoiler for the game that happens. So I'll come back to this position after the end of the game, because I want to first just show Magnus's very nice win here. Oops. Okay, there's a spoiler. Oops, my bad. Okay, let's pretend we didn't hear that. I mean, you know, it's Magnus Carlsen. I'm sure we all assumed he was going to win beforehand, regardless of my spoiler result. Okay. So what Ernst played was c5, and yeah. Okay, Magnus played. I'm just gonna jump right into it. Knight g6, and okay, a very nice move. Let's just say the rook moves here. You can just grab the bishop. Looks pretty good. But okay, hold on. This piece hanging, and Ernst did take it. After takes, queen takes e6, king h8, h takes g6, knight g8. I wonder if you can spot the tactical sequence that happens here. I'll give you a few seconds to look at this. Alright. So, Magnus played the very nice bishop takes ace h6. So, Ernst recaptured. And now a rook sack. Did you spot all this before? After knight takes ace h6, queen takes e7 with queen h7 mate as an idea. And it's not so hard for it's very hard for black to stop that mate. Ernst played knight f7, which is probably the only move. G takes f7, king g7, rook d3. Note that square is covered. Rook d6, rook g3 check, rook g6, queen e5 check, king takes f7, queen f5, and humorously enough, Ernst played rook f6, allowing maiden 1. I don't know, you've probably already spotted it, which is queen d7 checkmate. Okay, this was a really nice game by Carlsen, but let's go back a sec and see how Ernst could have avoided all this. So, scrolling back. Okay. Queen e2. So we now know the idea of this. And the reason I made this video was to point out, well, not to point out, but to show Magnus's nice win. But this idea, if Ernst played queen b6, now to show that this tactical idea is now no longer working. Let's say white plays knight g6. Now black has the very nice bishop a3. Yep, that's a pretty brutal threat. Okay, so white can meet this a couple ways. Let's consider b3. Now black can take the knight. Queen takes e6, king h8, h takes g6, and black has a very nice resource with rook takes d4. Now if white goes bishop takes h6, then black can even take the bishop. And after check, king g7, rook dh1, nice move, rook d1 check, which forces white to which forces white to take. There we go. And after rook takes, king takes, this is actually completely winning for black. It's hard to find any, there's no way to save this. There's no perpetuals or, you know, magical draws here. There's no way to get at the king. Black is winning. So, just to show that these ideas no longer work, the whole point is that the game would go on. So, after, queen b6, knight g6, bishop a3, bishop c1, f takes g6, queen takes h6, or e6, I'm sorry, king h8, h takes g6, knight g8, and white can never take on, well, he has to prepare it. He has to always watch b2, so there's no sacking ideas, and this is also winning for black. So if we go back, here, instead of c5, queen b6 would have kept the game going. White has to make another move. This pawn is hit. Knight g6 is not possible. So, yeah, a missed opportunity, but it was a small little trap, I think. And it was a great game, and I really enjoy Carlsen's finish in this. It was, yeah, it's one of my favorite games. So, that will be all for this morning. I'm gonna go have some coffee, wake up a bit. But I felt like sharing that a bit, sharing this whole queen b6. I've always found it a bit fascinating. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, whatever. You know, it's all cool. And I'll see you guys later. Thanks.